Hi there, welcome back to my kitchen. Thanks for being here. Today I'm taking inspiration from Middle Eastern cuisine and also from a pretty unlikely source for me, Martha Stewart. Jamieoliver recently created a one-pan lamb kofta recipe on one of her cooking shows and paired it with a grated carrot salad, and it sounded delightful. His was incredibly simple. We're gonna spice it up a little bit. But before we get to that, I need to make a cooking cocktail. Today we're going to use something which I use quite infrequently, which is rose water. Rose to me screams the Middle East, especially Turkey. The smell of rose was everywhere when I was in Turkey many years ago. So I thought I would try to craft a cocktail around rose water, and I saw a really interesting version, which I'll link below, that also had this. Because we're using chickpeas in our meal today, I drained them off, reserved the juice, and we're going to use it in our cocktail. The purpose of this is to make the cocktail frothy and foamy, similar to what an egg white does in a cocktail, but you're not eating an egg white. So we're going to give it a try. Third a cup of gin into the shaker. A half a cup of fresh squeezed lime juice, just squeezed this morning. Goes in. Rose simple syrup, another very easy simple syrup. I'd be happy to show you how to make it. Just let me know in the comments below. Quarter cup of rose simple syrup. That goes in. And a quarter cup of aquafaba. So there's a couple ways to do this. You can shake it directly with ice, but the recipe also mentioned that if you shake it without ice first and then add ice and shake it a second time, you get a foamier, frothier cocktail. So I thought we would go for broke and do the double shake. So on we go. Ooh, it's nice and foamy. Can you see that? We're dripping a little bit on the floor, but it's pretty beautiful. Now I'm going to add some ice and shake it again. You're done shaking when the cocktail shaker is cold to the touch. Oh my goodness, it looks amazing. There we go. Look at our beautiful cocktail. Okay, let's give it a taste. That's really good. It's not too rosy, which I'm really pleased about. Rose has a tendency to overwhelm anything that it's in. If you've ever watched The Great British Bake Off, you kind of know that. But this rose cocktail is delightful. It's just a subtle hint of rose. A Turkish twist. Cheers. Okay, I'll see you over that away to make our Middle Eastern feast. I've got a small obstacle to work around in the kitchen today. A very tired dog. This is where I usually cook. So we'll see if I can do that without disturbing this sweet girl. What do you think, Belly? Are you a good girl? Okay, let's get going. So I looked for this recipe online and I actually couldn't find it. It was an episode of Martha Stewart Cooks, and Jamieoliver made a one-pan, very simple kofta recipe. What I liked about his is that he incorporated chickpeas into the lamb as well as onto the cookie sheet, so that when he broiled the koftas, the chickpeas got crispy and he could add them later to his carrot salad, which was the dish that he made to accompany it. What I didn't like about his recipe is that it didn't really have any additional flavors beyond the zest of a lemon added. So having taken inspiration from several other recipes for koftas, I'm going to do my version of that, which will include about a half of this onion grated. I've got about 1.33 pounds, because that's what I could find, of lamb in a bowl, some lemon zest, and then cumin, coriander, paprika, cinnamon, cayenne pepper, a little bit of cilantro, salt and pepper, and breadcrumbs. So let's get going. The first thing I'm going to do is prep this onion. So we're going to grate about half of it into this bowl. Grate your fingers. That's far enough for me. I'm actually going to grate this whole thing. That didn't really give us that much onion, so let's keep going. Okay, I'm much happier with that quantity of onion. Next, before I start crying from that onion, I'm going to get our lamb in. We're going to zest this lemon. We'll use the juice later for our carrot salad. Don't forget about all of the zest on the back of your microplane. That will cut in half, and that will be ready for us later. Salt and pepper. This is about 25 ounces of chickpeas, I think. It's just whatever can I had in my pantry. I'm gonna add 2/3 of these and reserve some to broil on the cookie sheet and get nice and crispy. Feels about right. And then breadcrumbs. These are breadcrumbs from March. I think I just had an extra loaf of bread that went stale, so I just tossed them in a baggie and put them in the freezer. This is probably about 1.5 cups, and I'll probably add about 1/2 cup, so a couple handfuls. A little bit more maybe. Okay, now for our spice mixture. I am going to add about 1 tablespoon each of smoked paprika, ground coriander, and ground cumin. I'm gonna add a little bit less than that of ground cinnamon, and then a couple good shakes of cayenne pepper. I'm actually gonna measure everything into this bowl first, stir it around, and then add it to our mixture. So 1 tablespoon of smoked paprika. Tablespoon of coriander. Tablespoon of cumin. And less than that, maybe 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. That's probably 2 teaspoons since I spilled it. And a couple good shakes of cayenne pepper. Mix all of that around. And add that to our meat mixture. Okay, next I'm going to chop up some cilantro. Dog on his way. Must smell good in here. I think I would use about twice this much cilantro if I had more, but this is all I had, so that's going in. And a little bit of a neutral flavored oil. I'm using avocado oil. This is just to give it a little bit of body, bring it together a little bit. And now we go in with the kitchen's best tool, which is our hands. We don't want to overmix this. The intent is just to get the spices well distributed, the onion well distributed. The onion will add a little bit of moisture to this, as will the oil. So I've made koftas before, but I've not used chickpeas in them. So we'll see how we can get that to stick together. And I have a very interested dog off to my right. Okay, that looks good for now. I'm gonna get my hands washed up and be right back. To get these koftas ready for the oven, we're going to first drizzle some olive oil on our cookie sheet. I'm gonna use my fingers to spread the oil around, and that will play the double duty of also enabling me to touch this kofta mixture a little bit easier so it doesn't stick to my hands as much. So I'm just trying to get the same amount in my hand each time, form them into these cigar shapes, and just ensure that there are some chickpeas incorporated into each one. Okay, just finishing up with the last one, which is ending up being more chickpea than lamb, but that's okay. That goes on. I'm gonna toss these onions. And we've been left with a few chickpeas here. I'm actually just gonna combine them with these and toss them on the sheet pan, which was Jamie's method. As they cook under the broiler, they'll get hopefully crispy, but if not, they'll cook through. So toss these on top. And toss these on top. We got 14 in total. I think I could have done a better job at making them even. These two are a little bit small, a couple are a little bit bigger, but I think they'll cook just fine. We're cooking them really hot. They're going under a broiler and it's gonna take like 20 plus minutes. I'm a little bit skeptical of this method. It feels like the outsides will get a little bit too crispy before the insides cook, but we'll see what happens. It seemed to work for Jamie, so why wouldn't it work for us? So these are going into a preheated oven that's on broil on the upper third of the oven. I'm gonna toss them in now, set a timer for 20 minutes. So I'm gonna prepare one single lonely pita. I want it to be warming up in the oven, but it's just me eating dinner tonight. So instead of warming all of them up, I'm just gonna warm up one single one. So the method that Jamie used again was to wrap it in parchment paper and then wrap it in foil. Put it under the sheet pan so that it has a chance just to kind of gently warm up. So we'll keep an eye on that too. So I just spent a little time cleaning up the kitchen and setting up to make the carrot salad, and I realized I forgot to tell you two things. Thing one is if you don't want to make the koftas with lamb, you could probably use ground beef. You could probably even use a ground white meat like turkey or even pork. I would be thoughtful about the amount of fat in turkey. You may have to add a little bit more, it may be a little bit dry. So you could add some lemon juice, you could add additional oil. But I think you could probably swap out lamb if it's not your thing pretty easily. The second thing is I forgot to add garlic. What a bummer. So if you remake this, definitely add garlic to the lamb koftas. There's lots of good spices going on in there. So I think we'll be okay, but that would be a great addition. So this carrot salad, it truly could not be easier. Very simple ingredients, olive oil, lemon juice, tons of mint, and some carrots. I think what was unique about it is the way that Jamie prepared it. So carrot ribbons instead of grated carrots. So that's one thing that I think is somewhat impressive about this salad, but it's definitely been done before. He is not the first person to do it. I'm not the first person to do his version. So very simple salad. So I'm just gonna spend some time grating these carrots. And these are really big carrots, so we're getting like really beautiful carrot ribbons, which I love. Here we go. Okay, we're about the end there. So much beautiful carrot. Hopefully you saw that I moved from grating directly into the bowl to grating down to the bench. It just allowed me to get a little bit more of that carrot without sacrificing my fingers. But don't worry, these carrots will not go to waste. I have one single dog here who's very excited about it. Carrots aside for carrot cam later. The rest of this recipe is just about some chopping, some squeezing, and a little flavoring. So chop up a boatload of mint. Probably even more than this would be good for the amount of carrots that I just peeled. One of the things about green herbs that you're not going to cook is that you don't want to cut them up too far in advance of when you'll serve them. They tend to turn brown or black if they're exposed to the air for too long. So don't cut them up too early, but this is fine. We've got about only 5 minutes left on our timer, but I think it's gonna take a little longer than that. Now we're gonna go for some lemons. Now a little salt and a lot of pepper. And a good glug of olive oil. Give it a mix. I don't mind if this salad sits for a while before we're ready to serve it. I think that's completely fine. I think it'll only get better that way. So everything is pretty well coated in lemon and olive oil. So that is done. Set that aside. We're done, and we might even be a little bit overdone, but I'll show you. A couple of them got a little bit browner than I would have liked, but you can see those beautiful chickpeas that browned up really, really nicely. These guys, oh yeah, they look beautiful. That came together so quickly, I almost wasn't ready for it. So I think it'd be beautiful to plate this kind of family style. With our carrots in the middle of a plate. And then our nice and toasty koftas. They're sticking together pretty well. That's the breadcrumbs, I think. Use a spoon. Get them out. Sprinkle them over the top. Lemon juice and olive oil. And then I was able to pull off a couple more sprigs of cilantro. There we have it. It got a little hectic there toward the end, I gotta be honest. It came together so quickly. I was not expecting the koftas to be done after just 20 minutes under the broiler. They were done, and they were done beautifully. Next time, I think there are two things that I would change. First, I would keep an eye on the koftas and maybe flip them halfway through so both sides got crispy instead of one side getting overly crispy. You're moving because the dog is also very excited about the koftas. Apologies about that. The second thing I would change is I think I would make the carrot salad first, let it marinate in the fridge for a while and get nice and cold. I think the cold carrot salad, contrasting off the crispy, hot koftas, would be the way to go with this recipe. Unfortunately, I didn't have a pita. This is a flatbread or a naan, so there's no pocket, but we're gonna still make do. This is just Greek yogurt, and I mixed in the rest of the sauce from the carrot salad. So, a little bit of that. This is not for you, sir. You already had carrots. That's really very good. The carrot is still nice and crispy. The kofta is really well flavored. I'm sure Jamie's recipe was delicious, but I think that this lamb deserved those extra spices, so you might want to try it that way. I'm gonna go tuck into the rest of this, recover from that mad dash to the finish, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more. I appreciate you, and you gotta make this, it's very good.